What's going on, guys? It's Cimo. So, this past weekend the German Nationals took place, and it was a rather large event, especially considering the fact that this took place in Europe, you know, totaling in at about over 900 players, and that's very respectable for Europe, and it makes sense because, you know, this is their Nationals, and plus as well, since you got other neighboring countries, that people are going to come over and try to compete in their Nationals as well, so, you know, considering the region, that's a very respectable number. I mean, that's hitting into the very high regional numbers here in the US, as well as YCS level numbers as well. And what I found so interesting about this tournament was, even though we don't have the June 12th ban list into effect, which means the German Nationals was taking place under the old format, this means that Zoodiac was just running absolutely rampant because the fusion sub combo is still as abusable and as powerful as it ever was. But the thing is, the deck that actually took first place was Windwitch Invoked, and I can't even believe I'm saying that, but it's absolutely 100% true. Joel Remershoven, and I apologize if I butchered your name, took the deck and managed to get first place. I believe he played something in the ballpark of 8 pure Zoodiacs, 5 True Dracos, and then he also played just a couple other one-offs like a Light Sworn and a Dino deck as well. So he went the distance and managed to take first place. And I really kind of wanted to delve into his deck and really the logic behind it, because it's really cool that, you know, a player like this was able to analyze the meta and take advantage of something that was not something that I think a lot of people would have really capitalized on, but it's something that's worth noting nonetheless. So what I'm going to do is we're going to scoot over here and we're going to go ahead and get right into it. So as you can see here, this is the deck. Kind of looks, you know, for a Windwitch Invoked deck, I mean, it pretty much has everything you would expect. You know, you've got your 3 Invoker, your 3 Ice Spell, your 2 Glass Spell, your Snow Bell. I mean, that's just like standard because, you know, that's what you're playing and you need to have your main engine pieces. This is pretty much established as the Windwitch engine at this point, so there's really nothing else you need. The 1 Max C for the hand traps, obviously. 3 Ash Blossom, 3 Ghost Ogre, and then he decided to tech 1 Flying Sea. I really like this because the tech Flying Sea, you know, we've seen people, especially, you know, right before this format concluded, that were running like triple Flying Sea and triple Retaliating Sea and all this crazy shit just to basically make it so that the fusion sub combo was ineffective going second. And the thing about this is, I like it because, you know, if he draws it, most of the time it's going to be live because his matchups are most likely going to be pure Zoodiac or True Draco, but if he doesn't draw it, like, it's not hindering the rest of his deck, so, and it's an easy side out if he plays a matchup where it's completely useless. So I like the 1 tech. Now we need to discuss Ash Blossom and Joyous Spring. Now, it's no surprise that this card's absolutely busted, but this is actually the reason that this deck works, and it's solely because of Ash Blossom's attribute being fire, and we'll get to that a little bit later. So that's it for the monsters. Moving on to the spells, we had 3 Magical Meltdown, 3 Terraforming. We need to play 9 Alistair because we need to get to it as quickly as possible. 2 Invocation, very standard. You really don't need to play more. The triple Wonder Wand is nice because, you know, you can just tribute off your Alistairs after you've used them. Hell, you can even throw it on any of your Wind Witches, like if your plays get stopped by something, and just pretty much draw 2 cards, so you're gonna basically plus off of that. Then there's Book of Eclipse, and this is where this deck profile gets very interesting. So Book of Eclipse was the MVP alongside Quaking Mirror Force, but again, we'll get to that a little bit more in a bit. So Book of Eclipse, the whole logic behind this deck is to essentially combo Book of Eclipse with Invoked Purgatrio. Now, Purgatrio, if you guys don't know, the effect reads, this card gains 200 attack for each card your opponent controls. When we're playing against pure Zoodiac, they're going to be controlling a lot of cards. Now, this card can attack all monsters your opponent controls once each, and if this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing battle damage to your opponent. So you could probably see where this is going. So if you guys think about like pure Zoodiac, one of the things that the deck does is, you know, it's gonna typically end on a board of maybe like a Dryden, an Emerald, maybe an additional monster on top of that, or if it goes in for an OTK, the deck might have like 4 monsters on board, maybe even 5, just depending on the circumstance, because it needs to get in a lot of damage with a lot of little monsters. Well, what's interesting about that is Book of Eclipse, the theory is, essentially would stop Joel from getting OTK'd, and then on his following turn, because now he doesn't have to deal with Dryden because it's flipped face down, he doesn't have to deal with really anything else, and then he just has to make Purgatrio, and then he can just attack everything with Piercing. Purgatrio is highly boosted up. Then you could also boost it up even further with Alistair by an extra 1,000 thanks to Alistair's effect. So this Purgatrio is going to be like 4K most of the time, and since a lot of the monsters that Zoodiac plays have such low defense values, typically that would just win him the game outright, and I think that's absolutely crazy that something like that, you know, honestly, it's really simple, but it apparently proved to be very effective for him. So Book of Eclipse, I also like it too because it falls under my philosophy of cards you can use either going first or second. So if you're going second, you know, if you're facing down the Trident and all that, you can just Eclipse the board, and then you could probably wipe them out so that they're not going to be able to get the draws off Eclipse. And then for their first card, you know, they're pretty much all set to go anyway. So now, concluding up the spells, we have Dark Hole and Regeki. These are just simple board wipes. I believe he said he traded out one Book of Eclipse for Dark Hole, which I think that's a good call ultimately. I think the board wipes are really important. As key as Eclipse is to the combo of the deck, I think that Dark Hole is just an all-around better card, and you'd rather see Dark Hole over Eclipse most of the time anyway. Now moving on to the traps, 3-dimensional barrier, obviously, 2 Solemn Strike, 1 Solemn Warning, pretty much got your mini Solemn Brigade, and then the 2 Quaking Mirror Force to fall in line with the 2 Book of Eclipse. Now, this is really cool because decks right now aren't really playing a lot of inherent spell and trap removal. Pretty much everyone's playing Cosmic Cyclone. So the cool thing is people are going to save Cosmic Cyclone, especially with your matchup, for your cards like your Invocation, possibly your Magical Meltdown. They're not going to burn it on something like a set card unless they know they can essentially capitalize on the board state or just flat out win. So this is something that a lot of people probably weren't expecting, and he probably managed to steal a lot of wins just off that card alone. Very strong card against Zoodiac. Now moving into the side deck, Flying Seas and Drolan Locks going second against the Zoo combo, as well as just True Draco as well. So that's, I mean, pretty much until we get the new ban list, this is pretty much going to be a standard. Then we got the Kaijus. I really like his Kaiju lineup because he plays a Dogoron, a Godarla, and a Thunder King, and the reason for this is simply because he wants the attributes for his Invoke. So he's got the Godarla for Raijin, he's got the Dogoron for the Purgatrio, and then he has the Thunder King for Makaba. So I think that was actually really smart while still being able to capitalize on the Kaiju engine. Then he's got 2 Slumber. I'm not so big of a fan of this card, but he's already playing the Kaijus, and you know, honestly, if it doesn't get ashed, it's fine, and even if it does, you still get to search a Kaiju anyway, so it's still a good board wipe. 1 Necro Valley, this can just be searched with Terraforming, and it's pretty much good against any graveyard-based matchup, so I don't know if he really used it at all, but I mean, it's pretty much a nice one-of since you're basically playing 4 going into your games 2 and 3. Then we got Twin Twister, and we got Unending Nightmare for the Spell and Trap Hate. Unending Nightmare just so clutch against your True Draco matchup and your Zoodiac matchup, because if you got something like Raijin and Unending Nightmare, Raijin can deal with the summon, and then Unending Nightmare can take care of Barrage, can take care of Tenki, can take care of Diagram, and then you're pretty much just going to win the game from that point because there's nothing that they can fucking do. Moving on to the extra deck, 3 Raijin. I mean, that's obvious because you're playing Windwitch Invoked, so you're going to want to just spit this guy out as quickly as possible. 2 Makaba. Makaba is actually really interesting because it's a pretty solid way to handle Masterpiece because it can pretty much deal with his monster effect, and then if you pump him up with Alistair, he's going to be 35, so that's kind of a cool interaction there. The Purgatrio, the MVP himself, and again, I just really think that that's a really cool interaction. He said as well that essentially Ash Blossom is what makes this possible because before there wasn't any fire attributes unless you were playing against like an Infernoid deck that made Purgatrio extremely viable. So the fact that he's playing 3 Ash Blossom and everyone else on the fucking planet's playing 3 Ash Blossom, that means that he's able to capitalize on being able to make Purgatrio, so much so that he's running 2 copies of it in his extra deck, so I really like that. 2 copies of Magellanica, just pretty much Zoodiacs are all Earth, so why would you not want a big 3K beater? 1 Coctis, this is, I'm assuming, for Paleo, but I don't know if they ever came up. Then for synchros, you got Winterbell and Clearwing. This is because you need level 7s. Crystal Wing because, you know, you're playing Windwitch. Stardust is also interesting as well. You're probably not going into this too much, but it's a card you can go into while still under the restrictions of your Windwitch monsters. So, you know, if you have the slots for it, I mean, that's pretty nice. And then his one Xyz was Castell. I like it because it's just your pretty much generic choice. You can make it with 2 Alistairs or Alistair and Glassbell. So, I mean, overall, it's a pretty good just generic rank 4. If you were gonna pick one, I think that's the best kind of like deal with any problem. And Castell's kind of filled that role for a long time now. So overall, I want to discuss, you know, the viability of this deck going forward, because next week is when the June 12th ban list is going to take effect, and I think it's really cool that a deck like this actually took the German Nationals, which is actually a very, you know, renowned event. This isn't just like a tiny regional. This is actually like a big fucking event for them. And on top of it, it took first place in the pre-powered Zoodiac format that we're soon going to be exiting. So moving forward, I think this deck actually has a fair amount of potential. I know I've discussed it in my meta-analysis videos in the past, and I know the OCG was playing Windwitch Invoked kind of as a counter to Zoodiac, but the difference is we had the fusion sub combo, so it kind of threw a wrench in things. But the funny thing is, since his whole mentality is behind Purgatrio, the interesting thing is he wants his opponent to have tons of cards, because that's only going to pump up his Purgatrio even further in attack power and make it much easier for him to OTK. And what's cool is there aren't really a lot of outs to Purgatrio that decks like Zoodiac are really playing. I mean, Solemn Strike doesn't out it because he's all continuous effects. Dimensional Barrier, yeah, kind of, but people are citing it, so you can get away with this combo game 1 easy. Warning can stop the invocation, but that's if people are even playing Warning. And no one's playing Battle Traps. I mean, you might have some difficulty having to deal with a Masterpiece but you're assumingly going to clear Masterpiece if you're going up against your True Draco matchup. But Pure Zoo was honestly the focus here, and I think because he capitalized on the fact that everyone was going to be playing Pure Zoo, this was an excellent meta call, and I really just wanted to wish him congratulations on having such success with the deck. But guys, I really want to hear your thoughts. Let me know down in the comments what you guys think about Windwitch Invoked's, you know, overall, how well do you think it's going to fare in the future? Because we do have Link format coming up very shortly as well, and this is a deck that really doesn't need multiple extra deck monsters on the board to really function well. You could get away with just a Crystal Wing, or just a Makaba, or just a Raijin, and you could do fairly well for yourself. Now, obviously, you know, it's better when you can shit out all 3 of those at once, but I really think this deck has some potential moving forward, and I really love to hear your guys' thoughts. So guys, thank you so much for watching the video. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like the video as always, subscribe to the channel for more amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content, and if you found this video informative, consider backing me on Patreon, because just by pledging only $1 a month, you're investing in my ability to continue bringing you amazing Yu-Gi-Oh content. So thanks so much again, and we'll see you next time.